Hello and welcome to When to Eco, Total Map Control Model. The introduction is going to be politics. If you want to skip that, then just fast forward to what it says in the subtitle. Otherwise, let's discuss politics briefly. So, what do you think is more important? The question how to eco or when to eco? And I think most people are going to say how to eco because if you don't know how, why does it matter when to do it? Well, yeah, I guess, sort of intuitive, but how to eco is a question you can typically answer for yourself for pretty much every game you play in about 10 minutes. Because there are just two factors that decide how to eco. First, efficiency. So for example, RAS upgrade is more efficient than T3 mass fabricators, so you would get that one first. And the second is availability. So even though you know a RAS upgrade is super efficient, you cannot just, upgrade RAS at minute 1 in the game, because you first have to get T2 power generators, you have to get your mass extractors, and perhaps in the current environment it may make sense to get a T3 power generator before getting RAS, right? So the game changed a little bit in efficiency, but there is still a fixed order at which you should get stuff, and there's also a fixed order at which you can get stuff. Alright, so how to eco, really simple. The question when to eco is something that you cannot learn in 10 minutes, and you actually need a couple of models that help you decide that. And this is also true for any RTS game. And when to eco, for some reason, like, people aren't interested? I don't know. It really upsets me that people don't, like, could be my fault. My when to eco series probably still a little bit messy. Could make that more simple and straightforward, more like fast food, so to say, easier to watch, easier to consume. I'm working on that. As soon as I have new hardware, I'm going to remake this series. But guys, seriously, when to eco, like, way more important question than how to eco, because everybody probably already knows how to eco. So pay attention. Alright, so the total map control model of when to eco pretty much says that there are not going to be any unclaimed mass extractors. So let's take a look at the map. We have the civilian opponent on the top and no unclaimed mass extractors on their side of the map, and no unclaimed mass extractors on my side of the map. And this is how this model works. The basic assumption. And think about it. Is this a huge simplification or not? Well, actually, it's not a huge simplification, because in reality, there aren't going to be unclaimed mass extractors. And there are just two types of mass extractors. There are claimed mass extractors, and at some point of the game, every mass extractor is claimed. And there are unavailable mass extractors. Alright, so at minute 2, you cannot possibly have expanded to the entire map. It doesn't matter what map it is, it doesn't matter how efficient your build is, whether you have transports or not, you just cannot possibly have a 50% map control split at minute 2. It doesn't work. So the unclaimed mass extractors at minute 2, they are just unavailable, both for your opponent and you. That means the total number of mass extractors on the map is reduced at the beginning, simply because people can't expand faster. You feel me? So this simplification is not as big as it sounds. And when you have a mass extractor that is available to you and you don't claim it, that is just a mistake in gameplay. It happens, but it is typically a huge mistake, because you know how cheap mass extractors are, you can easily build them. So you get the idea. This model is actually pretty accurate. We can assume that at any time in the game, any mass extractor on the map is going to be claimed, either by you or by your opponent. And why does this model help answering the question when to eco? Well, that's actually pretty easy. So since every mass extractor is claimed, that means every mass extractor is going to net a benefit of 4 mass. Why 4? Well, you can see in the bottom left corner that it says +2 mass. And that is +2 mass for me, because it's my mass extractor. And my opponent does not have it. That means it's -2 for him and +2 for me. And that is a net benefit of 4. Alright? So very intuitive. And let's see what happens. If we upgrade such a mass extractor, it is going to generate a mass income of 6. And 6 mass is of course more than 4, but each T2 mass extractor you get replaces a T1 mass extractor you had before. So you have to calculate 6 minus 2 is 4, and you can see that a T2 mass extractor is just going to give you a net benefit to your eco that is as much as controlling a T1 mass extractor that your opponent does not control. And remember, there are no unclaimed mass extractors at all, because this model just assumes that as long as every mass extractor is available, one of the two players is going to claim it. So, we just learned one more T1 mass extractor is just as efficient as one more T2 mass extractor. And now it becomes very easy to tell when to eco. Because a T2 mass extractor is a little more expensive than 20 T1 tanks, or actually a little less. It doesn't matter. Around about 20 T1 tanks, right? It's easy to memorize. You get the idea. And now you can answer yourself the following question. Is it going to be easier to have 20 tanks less in this situation and one mass extractor more, and that's how I get my net benefit of 4? Or is it going to be easier to have 20 tanks more, win this tank fight over here thanks to the extra 20 tanks, and deny one mass extractor that your opponent used to have but now you control it? And in any situation, you do whatever is easiest, all right? And this explains that you don't want to over-eco very early on, because if there is a total of 20 tanks on the map and you start ecoing, then in a minute or two, your opponent is going to have 40 tanks and you are still on 20 tanks, okay? Because you are ecoing instead of building tanks. Very simplified, I know. But that means your opponent has double as many tanks as you. And then you're going to lose the tank battle. And this one extra T2 mass extractor you have gotten is not going to make up for all of the mass extractors you're going to lose, because your opponent has 20 tanks more and complete land control. Because these extra 20 tanks are going to kill your army, and they're not just going to deny this one mass extractor, they're going to deny way more than that. Alright? So I hope this is clear to everybody. Ask yourself the question, is it easier to deny one more mass extractor from your opponent and keep it for yourself by building more tanks, or boats, or airplanes, whatever type of map it is? Or is it going to be easier to hold your current level of map control with the same amount of units you currently have and instead get a T2 max? And you do whatever is easiest at any time. Hope this is clear. Good luck, have fun applying it, and see you next time.